Okay, so we start by clicking New Floor Plan. So we start by clicking New Floor Plan and you type in the address of the property. The more address you can put in here, the better, because it will give you better plan bank results. I click Next, and it asks you how you'd like to produce the plan. So we've got Start Drawing Now, Open an existing result from the plan bank. So these are the archived plans that customers have done over the years that you could open up and see if they're any use. And the third option is Auto Draw, which is where you can send us a sketch or an existing plan and we would draw the plan up for you. That costs an extra $7.95 plus VAT per plan that you send through. We're going to go through the first option, which is Start Drawing Now. So this loads up the drawing page and you can see it says, please begin by pressing the Add Room icon at the bottom of the screen. So you click Add Room, and first of all choose from the list of basic room types down the left-hand side, and then you choose a room description. You're not limited to the suggestions that we have here. You can place your cursor in that field and type in anything you want. Ceiling heights, you can ignore this mostly. In 2D, a ceiling height doesn't really come into play very much, so you can just leave it at the default ceiling height. The system is geared up for 3D, so in 3D it might be pertinent, but in 2D it's not. So you click OK, and it pops the first room in the middle of the screen because it doesn't know where you want to start. And you simply put your mouse on any of the walls, they turn red, and you drag them to the required shape and size. You can see the room measurements moving as you do that. You have the option to work in metric or in imperial. To do that, you go to the options menu and you can choose metric or imperial. This is only for your personal drawing preference. If you decide to leave measurements on the plan at the end, by default it will show both, so it doesn't matter what you choose to work in. Once you've got your first room in place, you click Add Room. This time and from now on, you get a little dot stuck to your mouse. You set that down on the corner where you want your new room to start and drag it out diagonally across to the opposite corner of your new room. When you let go of your mouse, you choose a room type, choose a room description, and click OK. Now it might look like we're going to run out of space soon, but if you click anywhere on the grid and drag it, you'll see you've got loads of drawing space, way more than you can see. So if I click Add Room again, I can add another room up here, a kitchen diner. Okay, so obviously all rooms aren't going to just be squares and rectangles. You're going to need to change the shape of a room at some point. So let's say, for instance, this kitchen diner was L-shaped. At the point where I want it to become L-shaped, I can double-click on the wall. When I double-click, it leaves a little dot, and that dot effectively breaks the wall into sections. If I put my mouse over the section of wall I want to move, push it, I now have an L-shaped room. I can then adjust that accordingly. So we'd use that double-clicking feature for anything. Let's say, for instance, that this living room has a bay window on the front. We don't have a symbol for a bay window, so you do need to change the shape of the wall. To do that, you'd use your mouse and you would double-click on the wall twice, window width apart. This is not measured, this is just by sight, so you just roughly gauge how wide that window was and double-click to set both ends. When you put your mouse over the middle section of wall, you can drag it down. And if it's a more traditional shaped bay with angled side bits, you can put your mouse on the corner dots and drag them in towards each other, and that creates an angle. So dragging dots gives you angles. And once you're happy with the shape of your window, then you would simply drag and drop a window pane onto each section. So all of the symbols on the left-hand side here can be dragged onto the plan and dropped into place. Now you can see that this window in the middle doesn't quite fit. If I put my mouse over the dot on the middle of the window and double click on it, I get some little squares around the corners. or I also have a sliding rule on this Windows properties box. So I can stretch that out. So that's how you would create a bay window or any change of shape. So if this hallway, for instance, was stepped in a little bit, I would double click, make a little dot, and I'd be able to change the shape. Again, to make an angle, you drag a dot. If you want to put your walls back the way they were, you just drag the dots or the walls back onto each other and they go back the way they were. To add doors and windows, etc., again, you just drag and drop them into place. Now you can see, since I've added this front door, that the living room and the kitchen now have yellow room labels, and the kitchen has a yellow line through the wall. This is just a visual alert. The system will let you complete the plan without the doors and windows in place, but most people want them on there. So when you're glancing over your plan to see if it's finished before you plan complete, if you see anything in yellow, have a second look, because it's the system alerting you to the fact that there's, well, yellow room labels means there's no access or no door to that room, and a yellow line through the wall means there's no window. So if I add a door to the living room, the label goes back to normal. If I add a door into the kitchen, the label goes back to normal. And if I put a window in the kitchen, the wall goes back to black. So if there's anything yellow on the plan, have a second look, because you might have missed something off. If this kitchen and diner were open plan to the living room, you would still draw two rooms because you probably want to label them separately. You can then remove a section of wall by putting an opening across. So you'll see here the symbol that says opening, to use between open plan rooms. I drag that onto the plan. If it was just an archway, I could probably just leave it, about that big. Obviously, you can't show an arch. You can only show the gap that it leaves, so that would be adequate. Or if it was completely open plan, if I double click on it again, I can get the squares around the corners and I can open that right out. Or it could just have like a little tiny bit of wall on either side if it's perhaps been knocked through at some point. Obviously, on the finished plan, you don't see a line and a dot. That's just so I can see the opening on the drawing page. If you have things like base units and things that you want to put in the kitchen, these are the most basic fixtures, and most people tend to show them. So a base unit, if you have them all the way across one wall, you would just put one unit on, double click on it and stretch it out as far as it needs to go. And if you have a sink, you could pop a sink on top and a hob. So you simply drag and drop the symbols into place. All of the symbols you'll see have a little blue dot on, and they can all be double clicked on. It will bring up the properties for that item, and you can do whatever is appropriate for that item. So in the case of this sink, I can make it bigger or smaller. I can flip it over so the drainer is on the other side. In the case of a door, double click on it. You can swap the hinge side, the swing direction, the opening width, the door type even. So you can choose a different door type if you need to. So that's all of the symbols are adjusted by double clicking on the dot and doing whatever is appropriate. Now all of the symbols will stick to walls. So if I put a base unit on the plan, if this was a kitchen island, I could drag the unit onto the plan, double click on it, and you'll see there's a little tick box here that says sticks to walls. If I untick that, it now lets me move this symbol freely. And if I double click on it again, I can change the shape, size, and I also get arrows around it. And I can rotate the symbol freely to any angle I want. So that's how you would free up symbols and move them around and rotate them, etc. Now once you've drawn your ground floor, you have the option to add more levels. And to do that, you click on the Floors tab just behind the Symbols tab. So it says there a new floor will be added named First Floor. So I click OK, and it takes me upstairs, and I can see the blue outline of the downstairs. And I'll work directly over the top of that. Now, even though you're drawing a 2D plan, the system is geared up for 3D. So you have to imagine you're looking down on the house with the roof sliced off and how that would look one layer at a time. So the first thing to do, and the biggest tip I can give, is to add a landing space and get your stairs in first. Stairs are probably the trickiest part to get right. So if you put them in first, you know they're in, and then you can build around them. If you add all of your rooms on your upper level and then try and fit your stairs in the space you've left over, it might not work, and then you're going to have to move everything around in order for them to fit. So if I click Add Room, I know I'm going to have my stairs coming up from the hallway here. So I've drawn a landing space on. I'm going to choose the landing room type, the hallway room type rather, click Landing, click OK, and it's added a landing space in. You can make it bigger than it needs to be. Now the stairs are going to come up against the outside wall on the downstairs. So I need to have this wall lined up because the stairs will cling to the inside of the wall at the bottom and they'll cling to the inside of the wall above it. So if they're not completely one above the other, the stairs will appear stretched and skewed. So you need to make sure that wall lines up. Once you've got your landing in place, then you can click the Add Stairs button. So it says there, which floor is the bottom step on? Well, in this case, it's on the ground floor, and the top step is on the first floor. You click Next. And you have to imagine that you're standing at the bottom of the stairs. As you step onto the bottom step, what direction are you facing in? Well, I'm going to make my stairs go straight up and then do a little turn at the top. So I'll be facing in this direction when I first go up them. So I'm going to choose these footprints at the top. I click Next. Move the bottom step to the correct position on the ground floor and then click. So I click OK. I'm automatically taken downstairs and the step automatically sticks to my mouse. I'm going to set the step down roughly where I want my stairs to start and click. And when I do that, it takes me straight back here saying, imagine that you're at the top of the stairs looking back down. As you step down onto the top step, what direction are you facing in? I move this out of the way a little. I can just about see the faint outline here of my bottom step, and the stairs are going to go up and do a little turn at the top. So if I'm standing at the top of those stairs coming back down, I would initially be facing across to the left. So I'm going to choose those footprints and click Next. It automatically takes me upstairs and the step sticks to my mouse. I set that step down where I think it should go and click to put it down. Now the system knows if I've started in one direction and I'm coming back down in another, that I must have turned a corner. So it's asking me, are there steps at angles? I'll say yes. If I clicked no, we will put a little half landing in there instead. So I click Next, and the stairs have been added successfully. So I click Finish, and you can now see the stairs, and they fade as they go down, but we can see them in red. If this landing was a little bit bigger, I could pull these stairs back so that they turn about halfway down. Or it could be that the stairs are pretty much, flush and they just do a quick 1, 2, 3 and down. So you can reposition the top and bottom stairs wherever you need them to be. So when you're adding stairs, all the system wants to know is the direction you face when you walk up them and the direction you face when you come back down, and it will fill in the rest. And once you've got your stairs in place on the upper level, you can simply finish off drawing the rest of your rooms. And if that more or less follows the shape of the downstairs, and that's great, you can use the blue outline as a guide. Just a quick note about the room sizes. The system doesn't have any kind of scale applied to it. So while it's useful, obviously, to have measurements and to try and draw a plan as accurately as possible, you don't need to be too painstaking about it. You can just roughly draw the shapes in and then add the room sizes afterwards. So you don't have to be very, very accurate when you draw. Obviously, we'll give you the tools to draw the most accurate plan possible, but you can still be quite rough if you need to be. Oops. So once you've drawn all of your rooms on your upper level, you add all the bits and pieces like doors and windows. If you had built-in storage space, so let's say, for instance, this bedroom at the bottom had built-in cupboards, you can draw them in as you would any other room. So you click Add Room and draw in a storage room, and then you can add doors. If you have a bay window that follows the shape of the downstairs, then you can use that outline as a guide so that everything lines up and looks the same. There's not much else that the system does, really. It's just a question of building up your rooms and then adding all of the appropriate bits and pieces. To add more floors, you click on the Floors tab and you've got the option to add floors above, add floors below, and you would add the stairs in the same way between the floors. So if you clicked if you added another level and then clicked the stairs button, you would see the option to add stairs from the first to the second floor, and so on and so forth. If you need to change anything that you've done, if you need to edit a room name, for instance, you go to the Edit menu and it says Edit Room/Cupboard, which you can click on, and it highlights the room that you want. You click on it and you can change the room description. If you had any outdoor space, let's say, for instance, you had a balcony. I'll move this window out of the way. There was a balcony on this bedroom. I could click Add Room and draw in a balcony and choose the balcony room type. The balcony room type is the only external room type there is, so you would use that if you were drawing a garden, a patio, a sun terrace, a balcony, any outdoor space. And you can see it's like a block grey on the drawing page. It comes out like a cross-hatched area on the finished plan. So that's how you would add external space. Once you are happy with your plan, then it's a question of clicking File and Plan Complete, or you can also click this Plan Complete button on the top right-hand corner. They both do the same thing. To change between floors, you just select the Floors tab and just click on the floor you want to be on. For symbols, just quickly, these are obviously the most basic symbols that most people use. But we've got advanced symbols, which are just more of the same, just variations of the same type of symbols. And then we've got all symbols listed by room type and symbol type. There's lots of things on here. You can fully furnish the house. But obviously, the more things you commit to putting on your plan, probably the longer it will take you to draw them. But obviously, it's up to personal preference. So there's loads of stuff you can put on the plan. If you're happy with what you've drawn and you want to save it, like I say, you click Plan Complete, and the first thing that comes up is the address reference that you first entered. Underneath that, public property description. You can leave that blank. Most people tend to, but anything you put in there will be displayed at the bottom of the finished plan itself. Underneath this, floor area. You can be careful with this. The system will estimate the area, but it'll estimate it from your drawing, not from any room sizes that you might type in at the end. So if you've managed to roughly stay with the measurements that you've taken, then you can let the system estimate it. It's only an estimation after all. If you've had to tweak the plan here and there to fit, that's fine. If you've completely ignored the measurements and just drawn the shape overall, then you're not going to want the system to estimate that. So you click Don't Show. Or if you know what it is already, you can click Enter manually and type it in, and that will override what's displayed on the finished plan. You have the option of adding a direction arrow, which is just a compass. You choose the direction of north in relation to the property. And then you click OK. And you have all of the rooms listed with the room sizes you've drawn for each one. If you're not going to show room sizes, then you can simply click Remove All Measurements and it takes them all off. Or you go through each one in turn and adjust them. So let's say that this living room was actually 5.4 meters. I can type that in and it doesn't change anything. The plan stays exactly the same. It just overrides what's displayed on it. There's also room for a little bit of text. It might be 5.4 meters into the bay. So you can add a little bit of text there, max and min, etc. You can also show a measurement arrow. So there's a little tick box here, and I get measurement arrows. I can move those around by the arrowhead to show which measurements are being denoted. So you click through each of your rooms in turn. Choose an arrow if you want, or adjust the room sizes if you want. If you don't want a measurement arrow, just untick the box and it takes it off. If you have a room you don't want measurements for, like a bathroom for instance, you can click no measurements for that particular room. So you go through each room in turn. Like I say, choose whether or not the rooms are correct, and if they're not, you type them in. And when you're happy that everything's correct, you click Send to Metropix. And this will process the plan. It only takes a few moments. You keep clicking refresh until you see the finished plan. And that's what the finished plan looks like. Obviously, we have a Metropix watermark on this one because it's our own account. You would either have no watermark, but if you'd chosen to upload one, then you would have your own watermark present behind the floor plan. And if you're happy with your finished plan, then you simply download it. So there's an option here that says download. The default is a high resolution JPEG, which is pretty universally acceptable. So you download a version of the plan, save it to your PC, and then you can then upload it into your property details like you would any other image. If you see the plan and you think, oh, there's something wrong, it's not quite right, you can click Open Edit, and it will open the plan back onto the drawing page where you can continue doing whatever you need to do and then save it again. There's an upgrade option here, which allows you to select color upgrades, Picture Plus. Color and Picture Plus are free, and the 3Ds and the maps, which are chargeable. If you have any questions, then obviously you can feel free to contact us. There's a button in your account that says Contact Us, and you can send us a message from within your account, and we'll call you back within 15 minutes. That's our aim. Or there's a telephone number here that you can call us on. And that's it.